praise begins, is birthed in our vision of God, we will never praise Him as we should until we see Him as He is. Some of us, many of us have heard of the name Darlene Sheck. Okay, is now an internationally known worship leader in Hillsongs. The beautiful song, Shout to the Lord, sung all over the world, is one of her famous songs that she wrote. But Darlene Sheck was not always this internationally acclaimed worship leader. In fact, in her testimony, she says, as newlywed, she and her husband Mark struggled to make both ends meet. Darlene earns small change singing jingles for KFC, McDonald's, and Diet Coke. And her husband Mark had a small motorcycle parts business, and they barely managed to take care of themselves and their two small children. And then Darlene tells us the turning point in her life. She realized the power of praise, and I quote from her words. She says, I learned we'll never find hope looking at our circumstances. It's only found by fixing our eyes on Jesus, who doesn't change and who's always faithful. And this is what her advice is, or her definition of praise. Praise is thanking God for things even though they are not there yet. Praise, like love, is not based on feeling. It's chained to a choice. It was Easter morning in the year 1799, a long time ago. But the people of the town, a town named Feldkirch in Austria, were gripped with terror, even though it was Easter morning. For they believed, many of them, this Easter would be the very worst day of their lives. Some thought it might be the last day of their lives. Why? Outside the gates of this town stood the army of Napoleon, ready and waiting to storm the city. The citizens were all ready to raise the white flag of surrender. But there was a leader in the church, a bishop, who had another agenda. Gathered the townspeople together, and in a voice trembling with emotion, this is what he said to the townspeople. He said, friends, this is Easter Day, the day of our King's resurrection. We must have one moment of triumph, at least. So let's at least ring all the bells of Easter. Then we'll see what happens. Not long before the sound of church bells pealing out a celebration of victory filled the air. And obviously, the generals of Napoleon's army heard it and they were astounded. What could it mean? They had a hasty conference and concluded that the only possible explanation could be that the Austrian army had arrived during the night to help defend the town. You know what happened? While the bells were still ringing, Napoleon's army broke ranks and fled. Listen to this. First is when things go wrong. Hear me now, friends. When things go wrong, and if they're going wrong in your life right now, learn to praise and wait for God's moment. Wait for God's moment.